Welcome back to the deep dive. You ready to jump into another fascinating slice of history?
Always. What we got today?
Today we're heading back to ancient Rome, but we're not focusing on gladiators or togas this time. We're going deeper, looking at how the Roman Empire stayed unified for centuries. With all those different cultures and languages, it's kind of mind-blowing how they managed to hold it all together.
It really is. Rome wasn't just about brute force. They were masters of cultural integration, bringing all these diverse people together into one cohesive society.
So, like, how did they pull that off? How do you unite such a vast empire without, constant uprisings and rebellions?
Well, that's the fascinating part, isn't it? And the answer might surprise you. They didn't force everyone to conform.
So not like everyone speaks Latin, worships the same gods, and follows Roman law kind of thing.
Not exactly. Think of it more like a mosaic with all these different pieces coming together to create a larger picture. Rome allowed conquered regions to keep a lot of their own customs, even their local leaders, as long as they acknowledged Roman authority.
Ah, so it was more like a strategic partnership. Like, hey, we'll let you do your thing as long as you're on our team.
Precisely. It was a brilliant policy of accommodation. It minimized resistance, created a sense of shared purpose, and allowed Rome to benefit from local expertise.
That's actually really smart. Like, why reinvent the wheel when you can just, work with what's already there?
Right. Take the Roman aqueducts, for example. They were marvels of engineering, but to build them, they often relied on local knowledge of water sources and terrain.
Makes sense. You wouldn't want to send engineers from Rome who have no clue about the local geography.
Exactly. It's like in today's world, when a tech giant acquires a smaller startup, they're not just buying the technology, they're buying the expertise and the people who know how to make it work.
So basically, Rome was way ahead of its time in understanding the value of diversity and inclusion. Okay, but what about religion? I mean, the Roman Empire had its own gods, right? Did they try to impose their beliefs on everyone?
It's interesting, actually. Rome had a surprisingly high level of religious tolerance. They generally allowed conquered people to continue their own religious practices.
Really? I always thought, like, converting to the Roman gods was part of the whole Romanization thing.
Not necessarily, and it wasn't just about being nice either. It was a strategic move to avoid conflict and show respect for their subjects.
So basically, don't rock the boat, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. And, it wasn't just tolerance either. There was this fascinating blending of cultures happening. Sometimes Roman gods were even merged with local deities.
Like a divine mashup. I remember reading about Epona, the Celtic horse goddess. She was so popular, even Roman cavalry adopted her.
Exactly. She's incorporated into the Roman pantheon. That just shows how Rome was willing to adapt and incorporate elements of other cultures.
It wasn't just a one-way street, huh? So they were pretty open to cultural exchange. But how did they create a sense of shared identity across such a vast and diverse empire?
One of the most powerful tools was Roman citizenship. It wasn't just about legal status. It came with rights, protections, and a sense of belonging to something greater.
Oh, I see. Like being part of an exclusive club with perks and privileges.
Right. And over time, Rome gradually extended citizenship to people from all sorts of backgrounds. It culminated in the Edict of Caracalla in 200 CE, which granted citizenship to, well, pretty much all free men in the empire.
Wow, that's a bold move. Talk about inclusivity. But even with a shared identity, wouldn't communication be a huge issue? All those different languages.
Absolutely, and that's where Latin comes in. It became the language of power, the language of administration, of law, the military. It helped them communicate across this massive empire.
So everyone had to learn Latin. Like, was it mandatory?
Not exactly. They didn't force everyone to abandon their local languages.
That would cause some serious pushback, right?
You bet. Rome understood the importance of local cultures and languages, so Latin was used strategically alongside those local languages.
Ah, so like a dual language system.
Mhm.
Clever.
It allowed them to govern effectively while respecting those regional identities. It's a great reminder that finding common ground doesn't have to mean erasing individual voices.
It's all about finding that balance, isn't it? Unity and diversity working together. Speaking of which, the Roman army was a pretty fascinating example of that, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This massive fighting force made up of soldiers from all corners of the empire, bringing their own skills, their own fighting styles, even their own languages.
Wow, what a melting pot. Almost like a modern-day international sports team, everyone united under one banner.
Exactly. And just like on a sports team, these soldiers fought side by side, facing the same dangers, celebrating the same victories. This shared experience created a powerful sense of camaraderie, a loyalty to Rome that transcended their backgrounds. It's amazing to think, how those experiences shape these soldiers. Imagine like soldiers from Gaul fighting alongside men from Africa, Syria. They might start with different customs beliefs, but through those shared experiences in the army, they forged this common Roman identity.
That's pretty powerful. Like, think about it. Could something like, say, mandatory national service help bridge divides in our own societies today? Where people from all walks of life serve together.
Hmm. Interesting thought. It's worth considering, isn't it? But this idea of unity through shared experience wasn't limited to the military. Rome also knew how to create tangible benefits for its people, and that's where their mastery of public works comes in.
Ah, right. Those incredible roads, aqueducts, public baths. They weren't just functional. They were like symbols of Roman power, ingenuity.
Exactly, but they weren't just about showing off. They were strategically designed to improve people's lives across the empire.
So it wasn't just about development and improvement.
Precisely. Think about the impact of a Roman road cutting through a previously isolated region. Suddenly, trade flourishes, ideas are exchanged, communities feel
It's
connected.
like building a bridge, literally and figuratively.
Right. And the aqueducts, bringing fresh water to cities and towns, a game changer for public health and sanitation.
It's incredible how they managed to bring these advancements to so many different communities.
And let's not forget the Roman baths. Not just places to get clean, they were social hubs, places where people from all walks of life could gather, relax, connect.
So they understood the importance of social infrastructure, creating spaces for people to interact and build relationships. It makes you think about how our own cities and towns could be designed to foster that sense of community, doesn't it?
It does. But let's shift gears a bit, from the practical to the celebratory. Rome also understood the power of shared experiences on a more, well, emotional level, and that's where their festivals come in.
Oh, yeah. Gladiatorial games, chariot races, religious festivals, theatrical performances. I can only imagine the energy and excitement of those events, drawing huge crowds from all over the empire.
It must have been quite a spectacle. But these events were more than just entertainment. They were carefully designed to blend Roman traditions with local customs, creating this shared cultural experience that everyone could enjoy.
So like a modern-day music festival, people from all backgrounds coming together to enjoy a diverse lineup.
Exactly. A fusion of different cultural influences, creating something new and exciting.
It's like taking familiar ingredients and combining them in unexpected ways to make a delicious new dish.
Perfect analogy. And just like a good meal brings people together, these festivals helped forge a sense of shared identity, a sense of belonging across this vast and diverse empire.
They were using entertainment as a tool for social cohesion. That's fascinating.
Mhm.
So it's like they wove together so many different elements: practical infrastructure, political strategies, social gatherings, even entertainment, to create this cohesive and enduring empire.
They did. It's truly remarkable. But it's important to remember, Rome's approach wasn't about imposing a single culture on everyone. They recognized the importance of local autonomy.
So, not a one-size-fits-all approach. They allowed conquered regions to maintain some degree of self-governance.
Absolutely. They often allowed them to keep their own customs, governance systems, even local leaders, as long as they acknowledged Roman authority and, well, paid their taxes, of course.
It's like a parent company allowing its subsidiaries to operate independently, but within certain guidelines.
Exactly. Finding the right balance between central control and local autonomy.
A delicate dance. But it seems like Rome mastered it. But let's not forget, Rome wasn't just influencing other cultures, they're also being influenced in return.
Right. Roman culture wasn't static. They were actually quite open to adopting practices and ideas from the people they conquered.
So they weren't afraid to learn from others and integrate those learnings into their own culture.
Not at all. Take their architecture, for instance. They incorporated elements of Greek design into their buildings, even adopted the Etruscan practice of using arches and vaults.
It's like a chef who travels the world, sampling different cuisines and incorporating those flavors into their own cooking.
Precisely. That willingness to adapt and learn was key to their success. It allowed them to stay dynamic, innovative, constantly evolving and adapting.
Speaking of adapting and evolving, let's circle back to those public works projects. They weren't just about showcasing Roman power, were they? They were about making a real difference in people's lives.
Absolutely. Think about the aqueducts again. Sure, they were engineering marvels, but they also had this profound impact on public health and sanitation. bringing fresh water into cities and towns, reducing the spread of disease, improving the quality of life.
It's amazing to think about the scale of those projects and the impact they had on daily life. It's like today, when governments invest in things like clean energy or universal healthcare,
Great comparison. And these tangible benefits, they helped reinforce loyalty to Rome. When people saw the empire investing in their well-being, they felt a sense of belonging.
it's a reminder that actions speak louder than words, right?
Mhm.
It's not enough to just talk about unity. You have to take concrete actions that make a real difference.
You got it. And Rome's success in this area offers valuable lessons for leaders today in government and in business. It's about understanding that investing in the common good ultimately benefits everyone.
It's been a fascinating journey through Roman history, from their strategies for cultural integration to their public works, and of course, their love of a good party. But before we wrap up, any final thoughts on what we can learn from Rome's successes and maybe even their failures?
Well, it's important to acknowledge that Rome's approach wasn't perfect, you know? Their tolerance was tested at times, and there were definitely instances of injustice within the empire. But despite its imperfections, the Roman model offers valuable lessons for us today. It shows us the power of flexibility, inclusivity, communication, shared experiences, and investing in the common good.
Good point. No empire is perfect, right? There are always going to be complexities and contradictions. But like you said, we can still learn from both their successes and their failures.
Exactly. And maybe one of the most enduring lessons from Rome is this. Their success, it wasn't just about military power or economic dominance. It was about understanding human nature, recognizing that people, no matter their background, want to feel valued, included, connected to something bigger than themselves.
It's about belonging, isn't it?
Mm.
Creating a shared identity that goes beyond our differences. And it seems like they did that through, well, a mix of smart policies, strategic investments, and a genuine appreciation for the diverse cultures within their empire.
Exactly. And that's a lesson that's just as relevant today as it was back then. Whether we're talking about building a successful company, a thriving community, even just a harmonious family, those principles, inclusion, respect, shared purpose, they're essential.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into ancient Rome, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners will remember?
I'd say this, Rome's legacy, it isn't just about their monuments or their conquests. It's about their ability to create a lasting sense of unity amidst incredible diversity. And that's something we can all strive for in our own lives, our communities.
Well said. By embracing diversity, fostering that sense of belonging, creating opportunities for shared experiences, we can build stronger, more resilient communities, just like the Romans did. So to everyone listening, what will you take away from this deep dive into Roman history? What will you do differently? Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through time.